All right, sorry for the technical problems. We're all doing this for the first time, a lot of us, but I'm really excited to be able to talk to you all about this. And I'm hoping you can have time to answer questions at the end. I'm going to try and just go through my presentation, and I hope you'll just kind of write your things down or put them in the chat, and we'll address them later. So these are the items I'm planning to talk about during the presentation. I'm going to expand on each of these, but basically I'm talking about 3D stereoscope, and stereoscope and 3D I'm going to kind of use interchangeably. And this is all kind of new and fun, and I've been doing this for about the last seven or 8 years, and I'm trying to get the word out. So that's part of my presentation. But basically, puppetry provides a unique source for creating 3D imagery for film and television, and also virtual reality is part of this. And I believe this to be transformative to the art form. Also, PuppetVid 3D is something I've created, and it literally provides an added dimension for communicating with the audience. And that's the important part. This is like literally a new dimension, a higher form of communication. So I'll be talking about that. And then the images, of course, they can either be streamed live or be pre-recorded. And I'll be getting into that in some detail. And as I said, this is unique to puppetry. No one else can do this. And there's some concerns about in our field about what's happening with computer generated imagery and it replacing puppetry. And this puts all that to rest. And so I will get into that. There's a bright future for puppetry in the digital world. This is also a logical next step in the work that has come before it. And people who are involved with video and film and puppetry are familiar with working with a monitor. This is a next step to that. And gosh, I wish we had this 20 years ago. I'll also talk about the displays that are required to see this, because 3D video requires special displays, and there's lots of different ways of dealing with that, and I'll talk about that a little bit. And then I'll talk about collections and exhibits and preservation, and that's a really nice element of this whole thing. And then most importantly, it's the things you can do to support this. And I'm very aware that not everybody is a filmmaker, not everybody is interested in doing puppets in 3D, but maybe you'd like to see puppetry in 3D. And so there are a lot of things that you as an individual can do to help with this whole concept. And so I'm going to address all those things. And there's actually quite a long list of things that you can do. So we'll see what that's all about. So as I talked about, puppetry is a unique source for creating 3D imagery. You know, I just right off the top want to say that stereoscopy or 3D filming is very complicated, and the equipment to do it is very expensive. And I'm aware of all that, and I have my foot in another world, which I'll talk about either also. I talked about joining two worlds, that we're joining puppetry with the 3D world, which is like a parallel universe. And I really want to bring these two worlds together. But what we are able to do, well, there's also the display equipment is special. So these are stumbling blocks. This stumbling block of observing things in 3D is one of the things we have to overcome. Now, it's a very logical thing, the way you think about this. If you just talk to almost anybody and you say, if you think of puppetry and capturing that in 3D, you go, well, oh, we have a 3D art form, and filming it in 3D, it's kind of logical and self-evident. And in practice, that is true. And what I've done is gone out and investigated that and explored that. And it turns out that it runs a lot deeper than what it just seems on the surface of, yes, we have a 3D art and a 3D capture of it. And I'll explain that in detail. But I've spent the last 7 years exploring that, and it just continues to amaze me what we're able to do. And I'm going to talk about PuppetVid 3D, and what that is something I've created and to define this and be able to talk to you about it and explain it and learn about it together. So PuppetVid 3D, what it is, it's shot with a stereoscopic lenses, and it's while moving real objects in real light, in real time, while the performer observes the image on a 3D monitor. So this is my own definition, and it's a name for identifying this phenomenon so that we can talk about it and learn about it and bring these two worlds together of puppetry and stereoscopy, or 3D filming. And to me, it is pure magic what the images are that are created. And of course, I said before, they can be live streamed or we can pre-record them. And this opens up a whole new niche of puppetry performance. And so it's sort of like a whole new world that a whole branch of puppetry could grow out of this. And that's my hope, that here's this portal, and I hope people will step through it and create new images that could not be done before without some of the technology, which I'm going to describe. And also, this assures puppetry a unique position in the digital world. And as we move forward, you know, we have this ancient art of puppetry, and now we have a way of surviving in the digital world with more importance than before, because we have this literally added dimension. And also, you know, it distinguishes itself from computer-generated images. As I mentioned before, by definition, what I'm describing as Puppet 3D, it draws the line where CGI leaves off. In other words, we are this side of being digitally created. We are using a real camera with real objects. And it's very important, the in real time is a real big part of that. And I'll discuss that a little bit later. But this is a form that capture has only become available within the last 10 years. And that's because the cameras that can do this were not around before that. And I'm talking about cameras that have two lenses and can stream a video image to a monitor live, and it allows the performer to observe the 3D image as they create it. And so it's very relatively recent development. And so it's really exciting. And I'm hoping that people get to try it. I have done this at workshops for PofA, and also for the community of the 3D community. And I'll talk about them in a minute, but they're very interesting. It's almost a parallel universe to PofA. One of the things I know that I haven't been able to do yet is it is currently technically possible to stream 3D images over Zoom, and I'm very excited about this. In a meeting like we're having right now, I could stream images over Zoom, and I don't know if you've noticed, my background image is a 3D image, and that can be seen wearing special glasses, which at the end of my presentation here, I'll show you what the glasses look like and a couple of other things. But that will work over Zoom or any video streaming service. And we can do what is called anaglyph using glasses that are red-blue. That will work with any color display monitor. So that's pretty universal. There are color displays everywhere. We rarely see a black and white display anymore. So universally, we see color displays, and using these glasses, we're able to see a 3D image. Again, some of the color qualities are lost, and so it's not the best way to view an image in the correct color balance, but it does allow you to see the 3D effect. And like I said, this opens up a whole new playground to the puppet artist. And the important part of this that's most exciting to me is that the puppeteer is able to integrate the use of the 3D space into their dramatic performance. They control the image as they perform to make the 3D aesthetically appealing. And, you know, there's a lot of bad 3D out there, and a lot of it isn't shot properly. And my experience from doing this in workshops is that puppeteers learn very quickly to create aesthetically pleasing 3D content. So that's very exciting. It's almost intuitive that the puppeteer will learn to do this, and also to take advantage of the 3D space. Now, if you know the 3D space, it involves not what we like to see in 3D, what is called pop out, which means things that are actually seem to be popping out of the screen in front of it. And what this does, what PuppetVid 3D is, allows the puppeteer to see that happening and to cause it to happen when they want it to. So it appears as part of their performance. They will do it in a way that is pleasing to the eye. And so this is the exciting part of it, and that's where the real magic happens. So this is unique to puppetry because no other performer watches the image as they are creating it. Now, if you're in production for something, you'll often have a director or someone watching a monitor and directing you how to act and how to move. But the actors and the people being videoed or taped, they generally don't watch the image as they're doing it. I make an exception for weathermen, because the weatherman, you know, he usually watches his monitor with a fake background behind him. So weathermen kind of have a little up on us of doing this. But most other performers, they don't observe the image as they're creating it the way puppeteers do. And then this is also great for dance and other performance arts. And I'll tell you, Cirque du Soleil has some really impressive 3D videos out there, but generally they don't watch as they perform. So this is unique to puppetry, and that's one of the exciting things about it. Also, as I mentioned, puppeteers learn how to adapt to this very quickly and intuitively. And with the workshops that I've given, I find that some puppeteers, they come to it and they have an epiphany. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, I understand it and I just want to practice doing it. And other puppeteers are sort of like, oh, that's interesting, but you know, okay, that's okay. And to me, it was very exciting when I first came upon this. I was like, this is different. This like blows my mind. This is going to change the world and how puppetry is photographed. As I said, puppeteers are really adept at observing this, and what they're, you know, people who are experienced with 2D monitor work, they always observe the edge of frame. And one of the things about 3D is the edge of frame is very, very important. And so we're all bringing a skill that we already have with puppeteers who know how to work with a monitor in 2D, who are always watching the edge of frame. When they come to 3D, they are now watching the stereo window, or this is where the puppet can pass through the screen and pop out. And again, the puppeteer can now use this depth and the pop out. So it doesn't seem like a little gimmick. You know, people say, oh, it's gimmicky, that's popping out. Well, the puppeteer is able to make that part of their dramatic performance. And so it doesn't seem gimmicky. In fact, they're exposing the puppet to the audience in a way that reveals the sculpture in a very aesthetically pleasing method. That can't be done in 2D. And so you actually see the 3D object as the puppeteer wants you to see it, as they're doing it. Oh, I also wanted to mention that in the 3D world, and I've been spending a lot of time in the 3D world, with this other world I'm talking about. There's an organization of stereoscopic experts, and that they will sit in a 3D presentation and call out what they call stereo window violations when they appear on the screen. And I'll tell you, they cite more violations than a traffic cop with a quota. They will sit there and just go window violation, window violation. And puppeteers learn very quickly not to make these violations or these mistakes. And it has a lot to do with the edge of frame. And they maintain the stereo window integrity. So as I was saying, this is very logical in the way things have developed over the years. We're merging these two areas, puppetry and stereoscopy. And like I said, there's two organizations that are very similar. We have UNIMA is our world organization of puppetry. And on the stereoscopic side, it's called the ISU, the International Stereoscopic Union. That's their international association. And we have UNIMA-USA and the Puppeteers of America. And the stereoscopic guys have the NSA, the National Stereoscopic Association. And then we have our local guilds, and they have their local camera clubs. And I'm a member of, I'm very thankful for I'm in Chicago. The Stereo Camera Club of Chicago has been really wonderful and helped introduce me to the larger organizations and speak at their convention, in fact. So as part of how this is developed, Jim Henson was very innovative in the use of monitors, and puppetry has exploded in popularity because of mainly because of the way that is the production technique of using a monitor. The puppeteers are able to do things on a video screen that could never be done before. One of the things that that developed was focus, and you'll hear puppeteers now talk about focus all the time. But prior to being able to see what you were doing, the puppets looked blind, and people don't realize that this was a big development. It was as if puppets could suddenly see because the puppeteer could see where the eyes of the puppet were facing. And that's all thanks to the monitor. Now, what we've done is added a 3D monitor. So the puppeteer can see where it is in 3D space in all the dimensions. Now, I wanted to talk about some of the things we have. I don't know how familiar all of you are with 3D and what's available, but there are Blu-ray discs out there that are labeled 3D, and this was popular for a little while and it's kind of gone away. But 3D is available in your home. And unfortunately, the industry has sort of turned its back on this, and they stopped making 3D televisions in 2016. And that was a jump to 4K. And unfortunately, 4K does not support a 3D format. Luckily, they're still making video projectors, and most video projectors still support a 3D. And I have a 3D projector in my house. I'm able to watch movies in 3D. I have a 3D movie theater in my house. And I also have 3D TVs, and you can find them used on eBay. If you can find a 3D TV and a 3D camera, you can set up your own little studio and teach yourself how to use a 3D camera monitor with a monitor. I wanted to mention in particular some of the historical things, but I wanted to mention the Diableries, which is a 3D disc. It's available. It's an extra on a movie called The Mask. And that bonus feature is called The Diableries Stereoscopic Adventures in Hell. And it was produced by Sir Brian May. This is Brian May, who's the lead guitarist of the rock band Queen, who happens to also be an astrophysicist. And he's also a complete 3D fanatic and has been taking 3D pictures since he was a child. And he's now helping us get 3D images from the moon and currently from Mars. So that's all very interesting. But the Diableries were a series of Victorian cards, three-dimensional cards, that is actually a movie that he was able to produce using modern technology. And so we have these images from the Victorian era in 3D in a movie that he produced, and it's a stop action puppet film. So this isn't Puppet Vid 3D because it's not shot in real time, but it's a stop action film uh, that we can see in 3D, and it's just wonderful. So that's something, if you can ever get a chance to see in 3D, you should try to look for that. I also wanted to mention Leica Films, because Leica is a 3D production company, a stop action company. They're doing what I consider stop action films to be puppetry, but of course they're not filmed in real time. They're shot one frame at a time. But Leica kind of gets it. They shoot all their films in real time. I'm not in real time. It's one picture at a time, but with real light, in real 3D space. Everything is built 3D, and all their films are released theatrically in 3D, and they are available on Blu-ray 3D discs. So if you have the equipment to play them, you can see all those films at home, and they include Paranorman, Caroline, the Box Trolls, Kubo and the Two Strings. And those are all wonderfully made in real 3D, which I'll talk about real and fake 3D in a second. I also want to mention some of the directors that have done amazing work in 3D theatrically. James Cameron really started the ball rolling with Avatar, and we're looking forward to his future films coming out. We're really hoping that 3D gets a boost from James Cameron coming out with a follow-up to his Avatar series. I believe he has a whole franchise coming out with new technology, with new displays and ways to see them. Martin Scorsese did a movie, Hugo, which is about the history of film. And what's wonderful in there is he was able to show some very early films and have them remastered in 3D. So you can see some of the earliest movies ever made in 3D because they're able to do that, is reprocess or remaster things in 3D. And I mentioned Sam Raimi also, just as a hat tip to Philip Huber, who worked on Oz the Great and Powerful, which was shot in real 3D. And that's an amazing 3D film. So those are three films I recommend if you can ever see them or have seen them. They are really good examples of 3D. I mentioned real versus fake 3D because a lot of movies are shot in 2D and then they're remastered in 3D. And those films tend to not be the best way for you to view or judge 3D. I prefer to think that a real film was shot using two lenses. And with puppetry, we will always use two lenses. And so ours will always be real. So fake 3D is something to just be aware of, that it's remastered, and it can be done extremely well. One of the films I used to showcase a good job at remastering is The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was made in like 1939, of course was shot in 2D, but it was remastered with tender loving care in 3D. And that is a beautiful film to see in 3D if you've never seen it. It's like seeing it for the very first time in 3D. So I recommend that. I also did neglect to mention Kenny Ortega, who worked with Michael Jackson on the 3D version of Thriller, and that was actually one of the things that that woke me up to this and realized that this was actually possible. So, and there is a Blu-ray of that. It's called This Is It, and if you can ever see that, that's one that I showed in my workshops. I wanted to talk briefly about video displays. Displays are always being developed. There's a new thing that just came out, the Loom Pad by a company called Leia. It's like the Princess Leia, Leia. And there are other displays being developed. Particularly, there's a company called Ultra D. Ultra D is making large screen TVs that don't require glasses. So 3D displays that don't require glasses, the glasses going away, are called auto-stereoscopic. And so, my vision of the future is that you'll walk into the restaurant and there will be 3D screens up on the wall, and you have no choice. You will see 3D content, whether you want to or not, because you don't need glasses. You just look at it and you'll see the 3D effect. And I really think that in the distant future that the things that we're seeing now will be considered flat. Anything that wasn't shot in 3D or isn't being broadcast or shown in 3D, and there are already places like this that they consider it flat. And this is a thing in Asia. Asian children grow up watching 3D. They expect to see 3D images, and they will call out stuff that's flat and refuse to watch it. Like my children may not watch things in black and white. So it may be that 2D actually becomes obsolete, and so that's something to keep in mind. Everything I've talked about is true for virtual reality, and just by putting on a virtual reality headset, you're automatically into a 3D world. Again, this is 2 movies. We're showing a different movie for each eye. That's why it's shot with 2 lenses. And when you put on a headset, a VR headset, you have a left eye, right eye. So automatically you're in a 3D world. And so all of this applies to virtual reality, which brings me to the next thing, that this is really important for puppet collections and exhibits. If many of you know Nancy Staub, and I've discussed this with her, and she's very excited about this. But if we can just actually take photographs of puppets in 3D, puppets are a 3D medium, and if you can view them in 3D, you get a lot better idea of what they look like. And with virtual reality, we can actually walk through an exhibit and see it all in 3D. And I have personally filmed the Muppet exhibit that's at the Atlanta Center right now. And so it's sort of a walk through that exhibit, and you see all the puppets, all the Muppets in 3D. It's just a wonderful thing. And that brings me to what you can do. And as I said, there's really a lot of things you can do. And, I really hope that all of you will be aware of this and help spread the word, because that's a main part of it, is that there is this special connection between 3D video and puppetry that is going to create something that is greater than the 2 parts. And so just being aware of that and spreading the word is important. And when you hear about 3D, don't go, oh, it gives me a headache. Please don't say that. It doesn't give everyone a headache. Turns out it's a very small portion of the population that really gets a headache. And we're way behind on this in the United States. 3D is much more popular in the rest of the world. Over in the UK and Germany, 3D is very strong, and in Asia and other parts of the world. And I feel like the United States is falling behind, and that worries me. So it's up to you to spread the word and keep this thing going, and to make it better and know that there's this great connection. I've started a video Puppet Vid 3D page on Facebook, and I'm very accessible. Please talk to me. I want people to talk to me. I've really had trouble getting people interested in this, and I thought it would be a no-brainer, but it hasn't been that way. But I'm happy to talk to you. I try to make myself accessible. in whatever part of this you're trying to explore, I'd be happy to talk to you and help you with that. You can also support the format by attending 3D showings in the movie theaters. You know, if you have the choice of seeing the 2D version or the 3D version, spend a little extra, go to that 3D showing. It's a lot harder to see it at home afterwards. It's one of the few places left still showing 3D movies. And I'm very upset that IMAX has sort of turned their back on 3D and is really not supporting the format. So I'm feeling an urgency and like this opportunity is slipping away from us a little bit. So yes, your support counts. You know, attend the 3D showings, buy the 3D movies on 3D Blu-ray. They're really getting hard to find. I'm importing a lot of them from the UK right now for my own collection. So it's a way to get them. Get yourself a pair of anaglyph glasses. As I said, we're going to be trying to do more and more anaglyph on Zoom and in video streaming. And this is a quick way to be able to see the 3D effect. And I'll show you 3D glasses in a minute. Get a ViewMaster. Many of you may remember ViewMaster from your childhood, and the Bob Baker Marionette Theater is selling photographs in 3D of puppets in their theater that are viewable on a ViewMaster. And ViewMaster is a great tool. It shows you what I'm trying to get you to see. The images that we're creating with Puppet Vid 3D are ViewMaster images that are moving and created and seen digitally. But ViewMaster gives you a great idea of what it looks like. You can get yourself Google Cardboard or some other viewing device, and you can put your phone into that, and you can view side-by-side images on your phone in 3D. And this is something Google sent out a bunch of free, they actually gave them away with the New York Times. There was an issue of the New York Times that came out several years ago. They gave everyone a free Google Cardboard, and it's sort of a poor man's version of a virtual reality. But it does let you see things in 3D. So that's another display method. I urge you to go to Disney World and see Muppet Vision 3D. As I said, this is a very logical next step. And I did a tremendous amount of research about how Muppet Vision 3D was created by Jim Henson. It's one of the last big projects he worked on. He was able to, they were not able to see the images in 3D as they created them, which is so unfortunate. I'm sure, I mean, judge for yourself. If Jim Henson had this capability that I'm talking about with Puppet Vid 3D, I wouldn't be here having to tell you about it at all. He would have made it the standard. But he worked very hard, and they looked at dailies every day and saw the mistakes they were making in 3D and went back and reshot things the next day as they were working on Muppet Vision 3D. And they wouldn't have had to do that now. With this new technology and the cameras we have in the last 10 years, we're able to see what the 3D looks like. Jim Henson would have loved that. I urge you to find 3D content. If you have a display and are able to see things in 3D on some device you have, there's 3D content on YouTube. There's 3D content on Vudu and Roku. I myself have 3D content on YouTube. I've been shooting my own company stuff, the gum wrappers, with a company called Heartstrings Media. And we've been shooting for about 5 years, all in 3D. So I've been shooting the gum wrappers in 3D, and you can go to their website and find that stuff. Again, talk to me about this if you're interested, and follow my Facebook page, Puppet Vid 3D, where we can all talk about it. So now I'm happy to address any questions you have. Let's see if I can unshare here. Okay. Are you able to see me? Hello? Am I in the room?
I wonder if you could tell us what does a window violation look like?
Sure. Good question. So a window violation is where you have the edge of screen. Now, I can actually find the edge of screen here. This is a thing puppeteers do, is they touch the edge of screen, and you find that. Now, what happens is if I have an image that is popping out of the screen, if I touch the edge of screen, my eye can't deal with it being in front of the screen and behind the edge of the screen. So that's a violation. So something that's cut off, like if I put my hand out, as soon as I go past the, like right now, you can't tell. It looks like it could be popping out of the screen. But if I go behind the screen, all of a sudden there's an image that your brain can't process properly. You can't deal with me being in front of the screen and cut off at the waist. So if I, for example, have a puppet and the hand puppet is in front of the screen, actually in what we call the negative space, that's the pop out, and it looks like it's actually in your living room. If it's cut off at the waist, that's bizarre to you. That doesn't make any sense. So we have to observe the edge of the screen. And so I can pop out, but when I come to the edge, I have to come back and go off. So puppeteers learn that very quickly. They come in, they can lean forward and show you their puppet in 3D, and it can look at you, and I can actually touch your nose. Like I can see that. I can have the puppet touch your nose with his hand or whatever, but I have to come back and then go below the frame. And so that's the basic rule. And puppeteers, I mean, they do this anyway in 2D. But that's basically what a window violation is. And these will occur even in a still picture. Like if I have a still photograph, there may be something that's at the edge here, and it's clearly popping out in front, but it's cut off by the edge of the screen. And one of my friends from the Stereoscopic Society, they'll go, oh, window violation, and call that out immediately. And so that's up to the photographer to crop their picture properly and make sure that they're not violating the edges or the borders of the screen. So any other questions?
Hi, I'm curious about the difference between what you're describing, and I apologize for my lack of technical know-how, but the difference between the 2-camera and versus how a 3D 360-degree camera would work.
Sure. What I'm talking about is a 2D camera, and I will show you what that looks like. This is the camera I'm working with. And if you see, it has 2 lenses.
I see. Yes.
Okay, so this is a 2-lens camera. It's a 3D camera, and that's different from a 360-degree camera. Now, 360 that would be really useful for something for virtual reality, where you're actually walking around in the world. So a 360 camera is going to film everything around you.
Right. It's almost like one is for the environment. One works to describe an environment, and the other works to describe an object.
Exactly. And
cool.
So the 360 camera will be useful for like a walkthrough, an exhibit. I personally am very interested in the 360 camera. One of the problems with the 360 camera is hiding the puppeteer. There's no place to hide.
That's totally, yeah.
You could do a puppet like a Big Bird and a walk around thing, and that will be amazing in virtual reality. If you're doing something else where you're trying to hide or conceal the puppeteer somehow, it gets a little trickier. But that's not to say you can't do it, and there's certainly clever ways to do it. I did want to show you some of the glasses. I was talking about anaglyph glasses, and these are anaglyph. You see that they have red and blue or cyan lenses. And when you wear these, if you have them, I urge all puppeteers to get a pair of these. They're very cheap. You can get the paper ones. I have paper ones here. these are, they cost under $1. And these are from 3D Con. This was the national convention of the stereoscopic people that I actually did a workshop, the same workshop for them that I did for puppeteers on 3D. They're actually very receptive. They're a wonderful, wonderful group of people. They've been very receptive to these ideas, almost more so than the puppeteers. I've had more resistance from puppeteers about this than I have with the people that are on the technical side of doing stereo photography and video.
Puppets, yeah.
So they've been great.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Steve?
just 1 second, Carol. Let me just show
Yeah,
you.
okay.
This is from the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. Let's see if I get that to show up. I could probably turn them on.
Wait a minute, I can't.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
It disappears
Yeah, having trouble getting that to show up.
because of the virtual background.
Yeah, I could probably lose that. But anyway,
Here's my question.
they're selling Viewmasters,
Sure,
and that's what a Viewmaster looks like.
he's doing 3D.
Okay, what's your question, Carol?
My question is, are our film schools using this 3D approach when they're teaching their current students?
Not that I'm aware of, and it's really unfortunate. This is I'm sort of sailing upwind here. The tide is against us in 3D, which is really too bad. I do think that as the display technologies improve, that everything is going to be 3D eventually. Like, this is unstoppable. It's an inevitable, I believe. That, right now what the industry is doing is they keep improving the sound. And if you're doing home theater like I am, they keep adding on more speakers and more channels, and they keep making the sound better and better. And they keep upping the picture quality, but they're not addressing this 3D thing. And eventually they're going to have to make the jump. So the schools are not teaching this. It's really unfortunate. And also what I'm talking about is filming with puppetry. No one is doing this that I know of. I do know, I heard of one production being done. I don't know who it was, but I did hear that someone had 3D monitors for their puppeteers.
What about UConn? Is Bart teaching? I mean, he's doing a lot with film and animation.
Right. I have contacted Bart. I do need to get back in touch with him. He has shown some interest in me having me speak to his students, but right now, nothing's happening with this. This is wide open, and boy, am I anxious to get people to see this. You had a question, Sarah?
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you more about this, Steve. I'm a professor in the Cal State system, and because of so much of our, I'm in the theater department, but I'm a puppet artist. Obviously, that's why I'm here. And I'm a scenic designer, and I'm coordinating a series of VR workshops, especially an intensive over the summer. And part of the reason for that is, because of the pandemic, we've been in virtual theater making world, and because also I'm based in Los Angeles, a lot of my students are interested in film and they're interested in themed entertainment. So there's a lot of crossover for me. I would love to talk to you some more about seeing if we should integrate some of your work into the workshops that we're doing this summer, because the theater program, I mean, I don't teach at a film school, but I have friends who do. But I think there's a lot that's happening between theater and film that we could talk about in terms of teaching. So I'd love to kind of reach out to you.
Sure, I appreciate that. Let me just quickly, you're lucky to be in LA, where the film industry is a main industry there. And there is a 3D museum. It's called 3D Space. It's run by a guy named Eric Kurland. He's just a brilliant guy and knows everything technical there is to know about 3D cameras and film. You definitely should speak to him. I can, if you contact me, I'll be happy to spell his name for you and all that, try and get contact info. But he's again pretty accessible. So 3D Space is great. The only puppeteer I know that is a member of there's a thing called the LA 3D Club. And the LA 3D Club has regular meetings online. I've been going to those. And the only puppeteer I know that's a member of that is Christine Papalexis. So you might get in touch with her. She seems to have some interest in 3D with puppetry. But generally, it just all seems so obvious to me that this goes together, that 3D film and 3D, this art we do. And by the way, I have thought about shadow puppetry, which you just go, oh, well, shadow puppets are not 3D, but in fact, this is applicable to shadow puppetry as well. And in fact, we can display shadow puppetry in 3D very, very dramatically by having the figures actually appear in depth in space. So you can do your shadow puppetry on multiple levels of depth. And really, it's really a whole area unexplored. I don't know why, but wide open. I would love to see shadow puppetry in 3D. Just the possibility, again, blows my mind that no one's doing this. So yeah, again, I'm happy to talk to anybody or do whatever I can to help. With theater, again, like I said, Cirque du Soleil, if you can see their stuff in 3D, what they've done is amazing. So theater and dance are ripe to this medium. How wonderful it is. There are a couple of discs out there. I know it's hard to get to see this stuff, but there's a movie called Pena, P-E-N-A, that it's about a woman who's a dancer, and it's shot beautifully in 3D. And to see that the 3D, it's like being at the theater. But you get all the advantages of close-ups and long shots and the depth and them coming at you in a way you don't even experience in the theater. And the same with puppetry of what we can do. We can do shots. I myself, it's amazing that you can, because we're on a bridge with marionettes, I can shoot down from the bridge and you can be looking down at the puppets from the top. And you get this whole depth of view from above that you could never see any other way. And you see that depth, it's striking. So it's very visceral to see these things in 3D. You don't even realize how effective it is when you see it like that. But again, if you're doing theater, I've come to a point where I would think it's not worth shooting anything in 2D anymore because eventually will be obsolete. And if you shoot in 3D, you can always show it in 2D. It's what we call one eye. We're shooting two movies, a left eye, right eye. But I can always run one eye or the other alone, and you see this basically the same movie in 2D. So 3D always can be shown in 2D. It doesn't work the other way around. We can't start with the source that's 2D. And yes, you can with computers try and make it look 3D, but it's not the same as having the two lenses. Carol, you have a question?
I'm sorry, me?
Carol, yeah, I thought you raised your hand.
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry. Oh,
no, that's okay.
um,
Does that answer it for you? Well, any other questions?
very good. Terrific presentation.
Just want your contact info.
It's my last name. It's Widerman. I say Widerman. I pronounce it Widerman, but for spelling, widerman@aol.com.
Okay, is it okay if I reach out to you?
Please, I'm
Fantastic.
happy to. And again, I just started a page on Facebook, Puppet Vid 3D. I went through a whole process, defining this and getting a trademark, which is not an easy thing either. But so that I have a way to talk about it and educate people and define it, what it is and what it isn't, all these things, and having that verified and using the name I coined, which is PuppetVid 3D, and getting that trademarked. It's a whole process, took about a year. Any other questions? So I'm very excited. I don't know how much time we have left. Does anybody know? I've lost track of time.
I don't know. I think they said that they were going to reconvene for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
so I don't
about-
know.
It's about 5:05 our time now. Yeah. Steve, have many puppeteers been trying to use your technique? Have you trained any? And if so, what has been their experience?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Carol. I'm very anxious to train puppeteers in this technique. I have done 2 workshops at festivals. And my experience is that puppeteers take to it like a fish to water. That they pretty much get it right away, especially if they have 2D monitor experience. Of course, the pandemic came, and I had to put everything on hold, and I can't meet with anybody or teach anyone personally, and this is a very hands-on type of thing. You need to be there with the camera. The system I'm using, you have to wear glasses, and you see the image on a 3D monitor as you're working your puppet, and you practice. And the people that are doing 2D monitor work now are highly skilled. I mean, it's off the chart, the skill level we're seeing of the people. It's a small community, the people who are doing Sesame Street and the Muppets, performing the Muppets now. These people, their skill level is absolutely off the chart. And I would love to have those people train in this. And they're my friends, and I find that they have no control over how their work is produced or shot. It's up to a producer to decide to shoot something in 3D, which adds on a whole lot of complications to anything they're making, which they try to avoid. Which it's too bad. You have these phenomenal artists, and what a shame that their work is not being shot in 3D all the time.
So have you spoken with the producers about this?
Well, no, that's not part of my world. I would love to speak to producers. I think, to me, all puppetry should just be shot in 3D. It's a no-brainer. It's a lot harder to convince someone with a budget to do that. But my God, what can be done artistically is extraordinary. We will create content in puppetry in 3D that it will just be absolutely extraordinary. I mean, I'm convinced of that, and we'll get there. And I'm trying to just move things along a little faster and make people aware of it. And
what about, have you written an article for Puppetry Journal about it?
well, talk to my friend Steve Abrams. We're talking. I would love him to do a whole issue on this. To me, I would like to see him publish one edition that has that you actually need a pair of these glasses. You need a pair of glasses to view the 3D pictures. And I have these magazines. I get Stereo World magazine. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, Stereo World. You get these magazines, and they're filled with pictures that are in 3D, and you just wear these glasses, and you see them. They pop right out of the magazine. So I would love to see Steve do one issue like that with puppets popping right out off the page.
Have you talked to him about it?
Briefly, yeah.
And so in other words, they would send the issue with the